Hey guys, Sauniche here, some Heroes of the Storm action for you. This is game 2 of the best of 3 between Cloud9 Maelstrom and Barrel Boys from the recent Titan Arena. This is the second semi-final. The winner of this series will go on to face Tempo Storm in the finals. And let's introduce our teams real quickly. Pause it just for 1 second to look at our compositions and see what we have going on our teams. So for Cloud9 Maelstrom, we have Dunk Train playing Tyrande, I Dream on Tassadar, King Caffeine playing Diablo, K1 Pro in there with Vala, and Biceps playing Nazeebo. For Barrel Boys, we have McIntyre on Malfurion, Trummel playing Sergeant Hammer, Chris Fury playing Stitches, Blinks playing Uther, and Erho playing ETC. So overall, actually an interesting combination here out of Barrel Boys. They don't have a single assassin on this team. It is a specialist, 2 supports, 2 tanks, so they may have to deal with that damage. They're going to need to find that damage from somewhere. Mostly, it's going to have to come from Sergeant Hammers and probably Stitches, as we most likely will see him building very heavily into his slam, given the lack of damage on Barrel Boys. And if we look at Maelstrom up here, we have only 1 true assassin with Vala. Can do a ton of damage, though, here with K1 Pro. If Biceps does well with the Ravenous Spirit, you can easily turn fights around, do tons of damage there. Malfurion can counter that fairly easily, though, with Tranquility. It heals just about as quickly as the Ravenous Spirit does damage. There's some really good initiation with Diablo, and fairly weak support with Tyrande and Tassadar. These are both more utility supports. Both of them can do really, really nice damage, and neither one of them does a lot of active healing. Tyrande has a very weak heal that can be talented for some utility, and Tassadar has his shield, which, although it can be powerful, it is limited in what it can do. It only lasts 8 seconds. And it doesn't actually give it doesn't give long-term health restore like an actual heal would. So let's get into this game now. Bring up our UI with our talents on it, and let's get into the game. So level 1 talents from everybody. Pretty standard. Looks like Barrel Boys is going for full-on sustain with block and Conjurer's Pursuit. Resistant from Sergeant Hammer to prevent getting stunned by Diablo, and Tyrande for as long. Stitches still debating on what to pick up for that first talent. We are going to have 1-1-3 lanes coming out here from both teams. So we'll see how that ends up working out. Sergeant Hammer picking up that Watchtower for Barrel Boys. And there's that heavy slam. So Sergeant Hammer is indeed Stitches is indeed going for his slam build. That is Chris Fury. And neither team really committed anything. Maelstrom trying to set up here for maybe some kind of gank. Diablo hiding in this bush, waiting for these Barrel Boys to come out. Now Furion spots him, though, with a Moonfire. Sergeant Hammer lays down some mines. And now there is nothing for them to really worry about. So Drunk Train doing a little bit of damage here and there, along with Biceps. Pushing this lane back. Sergeant Hammer needs to get in position to be able to push this lane back before they start losing too much ammo on their turrets. Tassadar versus ETC already actually pushed down the ammo on these turrets pretty far, all things considered. There's that ammo going down for Barrel Boys on the bottom. And top lane, fairly even from both of them. K1 Pro versus Chris Fury up here. So we're going to go back down to the party lane and check out the 3-on-3 action that is happening. There are a couple of AoE spells out. Oh, Sergeant Hammer getting trapped outside of her fountain right there, but nicely done to blast those zombies out of the way, avoid the stun coming out of Dunk Train. Here comes King Caffeine trying to sneak in from the side. We'll see what he is able to do. He really wants to get an Overpower and Shadow Charge combo off. Not sure if he's going to be able to do it, but no one taking a lot of damage for anyone. Level 4 talents are going to be here any second now for both teams. We'll see if these builds start to diversify slightly. There it is for both teams. So we have Healing Ward, Amplified Healing, Maelstrom shells, protective shield. Pretty standard all around. From both teams, we have a double healing ward coming out of Maelstrom, and that is their response to not having any real heals of their own going on their team. The double healing ward plus the amplified healing is going to make up for the lack of active heals that they have. Looks like King Caffeine charging in there on Trummel, but it's not to happen. There's Dunk Train getting stunned up, and Trummel getting focused down here. Takes a little bit of damage there, but with Blinks and McIntyre here, that damage will be erased in seconds. Although Trummel getting a little bit greedy, the Shadow Charge comes in and gets stunned against the wall right there. Just seconds away. Here's our first tribute coming up in the bottom lane. Both teams are here with 3 already, so we'll see if Tassadar comes down. iDream moving into position, followed closely by Arrow. He realizes what's going on. Chris Fury wants a hook up here. We'll see if he ends up moving down towards the tribute or not. So far, no one has moved to the tribute. It is 4-on-4 still. Neither team can really secure this, and we have some more. We have some EXP leeching and soakage going on the top lane. Key Caffeine gets separated there by Arrow using that ETC talent, and there's that first ward coming down. If Sergeant Hammer can block it, Diablo. King Caffeine here doing a brilliant job standing right on top of the ward. It is incredibly difficult to click on that when there's a hero standing on top of it. So he basically was making sure his team got the full duration of that. McIntyre advancing here. McIntyre is going to go down. So that will be a loss for Barrel Boys. And that first tribute is going to go the way of Maelstrom. So there's Chris Fury coming up. Both teams have their level 7 talents now. We'll see what these builds are starting to look like. KO and Pro going with the full multi-shot build from Vala. Nazeebu here grabbing that mule rather than his ability bonus, which on this map can actually be incredibly strong if you could save a fort during the curse with that mule. We have Shroud, so buffing up Tyrande Q to make up for the lack of support on Maelstrom here. And pretty standard all around. We have Tenderizer, Guitar Hero, Cleanse, First Aid, Elun's Grace, so standard all around except for, I would say, the Tyrande build here, going more support Tyrande. But there we have the first tower going down for Maelstrom, giving them a slight edge here in experience. They'll be able to get 10 before anyone else, but Uther over here, Blinks, getting those Siege Giants, so maybe Tempo Storm can return the favor here. If they can take this bottom, they're going to need it, especially with the next tribute coming up here momentarily. It should be here any minute now. And with this slight level disadvantage they are at, they will need a little bit of help. There's that tribute up in the top lane. Tyrande firing across. So at this point, someone needs to stay here, although they are quickly taking care of these Siege Giants. Only one of them still stands. It is almost hurt. Gets healed up there by Blinks. And now here's Biceps moving forward. Looks like, actually, it looks like Barrel Boys are going to surrender this tribute and just go with the push. So that is an interesting choice by them. But I think it might pay off for them. They will prevent Maelstrom from getting level 10. Way ahead of them. Both teams get level 10 simultaneously. And we have Reign of Vengeance coming out of K1 Pro, which is a little bit of a diversion from the normal build. Other than that, pretty standard things all around. We have Lightning Breath coming out of Diablo to give him that extra damage, as if they didn't already have enough. Here comes K1 Pro down, but misses both ultimates. Almost wasted. K1 Pro missed with the Reign of Vengeance, but the Ravaging Spirit counter took that immediately. Putrid Bile, Divine Storm, Napalm, Tranquility, Mosh Pit actually from the ETC. That's an interesting one to see. Looks like Maelstrom here going for their boss. They apparently feel comfortable enough with their map control to go after their boss. And looks like they are actually correct in that assumption. This will not be challenged whatsoever by Barrel Boys. And there's that tribute coming up in the bottom lane. The boss taken at the perfect time. If there is any kind of protracted fight going on over this tribute, this boss will take the fort, because Barrel Boys will not be able to contest it. They need to stop this turn-in. It is the third tribute coming up, and both of the previous ones were taken by Maelstrom. So at this point, They desperately need this tribute. They can't give up this first curse, especially with this boss beating down on their bottom. There's Tranquility coming up. Arrow goes down right there to the Lightning Breath. And there's the Archon Tassadar coming up as well. Trumbull being pushed back. Putrid Bile has been used as well. King Caffeine trapped by his own zombie wall. There's the curse. Dunk Train picking that up. Blinks goes down right there to the Tyrande stun. And Maelstrom won a 2-0 swing right there along with the tribute. Boss is pushing the bottom lane, and they now have a 1.5 level lead as well. Thanks to the boss taking that tribute, and very soon here, thanks to the boss taking that bottom fort, I should say, very soon here, Barrel Boys will have lost their top and middle fortifications as well. And potentially even some more here on the bottom. That blast fort might go down. It will barely be saved, but no, the archers in the back line taking it out. So McIntyre, Hearthstoning back to get a little bit of health. Barrel Boys rotating, Maelstrom rotating towards the middle to grab that little bit of extra damage. Both teams have, well, they do not actually. Maelstrom has a talent tier here on Barrel Boys, and if we take a look at those, once again, pretty standard. More multi-shot buffing out of K1 Pro. Sprint for Nazeebu to let him get into position. Sprint for Tyrande as well. Just give her a little bit more support. This top fort, unfortunately, will go down. Barrel Boys is not going to be able to save it. Valiant effort by them, and here's ETC. Arrow playing ETC here, picking up a couple of extra mercenaries. We'll see how that ends up working out. Risky with Maelstrom so close right there. So we have a Shrink Ray, and it will actually get noticed, and we'll see if Maelstrom decides to take this, to contest this Merc camp. I don't know if they're going to. Nope. Decided not to. Uther with Sprint. That's always devastating with Divine Storm. Letting him run right into the middle of the enemy team and use that ultimate. Relentless from Stitches, so he's not actually grabbing the other slam builds. I think he realizes that he needs that survivability versus the insane burst damage that Maelstrom is packing. And Giant Killer out of Sergeant Hammer, letting her be their sole damage dealer. Not something I would super consider in my own teams, but they're trying to make it work right now, and it's actually not working for them. There's trouble taking an extra shot there. Looks like they are waiting for this boss to be taken. There's Arrow, split off from his team, but both teams are rotating up to the top now. That Frost shot coming out, and we'll see if we can actually get a good mosh pit here. Have not seen one this whole game, actually. Let's take a look at our damage meter real quick. Bringing that up, and this is exactly what I was expecting and worried about for Barrel Boys. Only Sergeant Hammer is even remotely keeping up with the damage from just about everybody on Maelstrom. You have 15,000 here, but 17, 13, 13, 10, and almost 10 again. There's 11. There's McIntyre picking up a couple more Siege Giants, and we have a Siege, oh man, Maelstrom is actually in a great spot taking some mercenaries before this tribute comes up right in the correct position. It's just Barrel Boys doesn't have the damage to stay in these fights, and their sustain is not helping to counteract the extreme burst of Maelstrom. King Caffeine gets pulled into that nice little grip right there, and there is the Healing Ward trying to keep King Caffeine alive. Arrow taking a couple of shots here, and we're actually just going to close everything and look at this big old fight that's happening right here. Chris Fury gets hit a couple of times right there by the Starfall. Putrid Bile coming out. At this point, Diablo has come back. He had the soul stacks that he needed, and it is now 5-on-5, so that kill was worthless. And there's a mosh pit, but it can't be followed up as he dies immediately. Blinks will go down as well. And now Barrel Boys are tucking their tail between their legs and heading back to their base. All ultimates were used in that fight. Here's Chris Fury trying to save the mid fort for Barrel Boys right there, and we'll bring our UIs back up here. Take a look at our talents now. See, normally, instead of the sprint, Tyrande would get her Lunar Flare buff. I believe that is the one that increases its range, its radius, and damage. It's also what she would get here at level 7. in a normal circumstance, but having won that team fight, Maelstrom moving out across the board, taking the top boss because why not? They can. And here they are pushing down the middle. At this point, this game is firmly in their control. Barrel Boys needs that level 16 tier before they can really engage. Fortunately for them, we do have a couple of Siege Giants here on the bottom lane, but there's a Mule healing that up as well. And here comes K1 Pro to take those Giants out, while the rest of Maelstrom picks up the Siege Giant. So unless Barrel Boys can pull something out of a hat here, they are going to be eliminated from this tournament. Although one good team fight could flip it around. There's that tribute coming up in the top lane that will let Barrel Boys get in position. If they hurry, that is. Maelstrom's already on their way up there. No, they are moving back to take care of the boss rather than try and fight over the tribute. I think there's a little miscommunication here. And Arrow and Chris Fury decided to go for the tribute. Everyone else backed up to deal with the boss. And now this will be 2-0 yet again for Maelstrom as King Caffeine picks up that tribute. So level 16 tier here for Barrel Boys. We'll take a look at what they're doing. There is Pulverize, so trying to build up that slam as well. And we have dual imposing presence when nobody but Vala uses, well, okay, maybe Tyrande and Vala use auto attacks to do the majority of their damage. I mean, Tassador's going to use his Stystorm, Diablo's going to use his Lightning Breath, Nazeebu's going to use Ravenous Spirit, so I just don't like this dual imposing presence. I don't think it's a good choice. We have Hover Siege mode, which is always a given on Sergeant Hammer. Hardened Focus on McIntyre here, which I don't know if that's worth it. And here comes a big fight coming in. There's Starfall coming out. Lightning Breath has been used. Arrow's going to go down before he can even use his Mosh Pit. Blink's moving back out. And while Maelstrom was not able to steal the Knights, that was their ultimate goal there. They were able to secure that one kill and actually go up 4-5 here as this tribute comes out. And that is going to be a devastating blow for Barrel Boys. That is another cursed tribute coming out. And with down a player, there's nothing they can do about it. So losing ETC right there, Trouble completely stuck forward by King Caffeine. Can't get out of the team fight. There's Chris Fury and Blinks. McIntyre running back as well. So that will be full-on defense mode coming out of Barrel Boys because there's nothing they can do about this. Although that hook will stop it. And we'll see if Trouble and Blinks can make something happen here. There's Chris Fury moving in as well. Arrow moving forward. Lightning Breath is off cooldown. There it is right there being used. The only ultimate on the board that is off cooldown. There's the Divine Storm coming up. Sprint Uther coming forward trying to make something happen. Diablo goes down, and that will actually be a full count for him. He has Divine Storm at his disposal. It can be used, but he goes down. So if he doesn't get it off here as a ghost, it will be wasted. There's iDream moving out, and I believe we're going to have that Divine Storm be wasted. Ravenous Spirit is coming up off a cooldown now, as is Rain of Vengeance. And there comes Starfall and Archon. Unfortunately, only Tranquility and that Divine Storm, which cannot be used, are back for Barrel Boys. K1 Pro dodges that like a pro. And there's Starfall to keep them off of this, and Diablo and Uther are going to be back. And Diablo will be back with another Lightning Breath. The cooldown on it is only 60 seconds. It does not last very long. So both teams will be back to full strength here any second now. Although when Malfurion needs to put down his healing ward, I don't know if it's on cooldown for him. It is indeed on cooldown. There comes Tassadar moving in from the side. Arrow as well taking a shot right there. There's Trouble sieging up, trying to control this tribute. Moving into a nice position here in the trees. Cannot actually be hit by anything. There comes iDream in to start the, King Caffeine, excuse me, start the engage with the ultimates here now popping out. The Ravenous Spirit and the Hurricane. Nice positioning from Biceps. And that is forcing Barrel Boys back off of the tribute. They have not done nearly enough damage in this fight. They are all about half health, and despite having their dual support composition. They just cannot deal the damage they need to. Arrow will go down here any second. There's the Divine Storm. Arrow goes down without using his Mosh Pit, the only ultimate that was unused in that. Uther goes down as well a second time, and now this puts Barrel Boys in a really, really bad position. There's a nice hook on the biceps without... Oh, but Trummel goes down for the effort and the sprint, saving Nazeebu right there. So now with 3 players dead and a curse up, Barrel Boys have to go into full-on bunker mode here. And only Malfurion and Stitches up to defend. That's not going to help them as... Actually, it's not going to help them at all. Especially with this boss moving up. I don't know if taking the boss is actually the opportune move at this point, as opposed to just pushing before these 3 heroes come back up. Once Sergeant Hammer comes up, that'll give Barrel Boys a much, much stronger defense. So they have about 10 seconds left to make something happen. Most of them hearthing home. They were all fairly low on health, so getting out of there, probably a wise choice. Just securing their level 20. Securing a lot of map control with this. Securing a lot of map control, a lot of map presence with this curse. So I can't blame them a lot for that, but I feel like the amount of damage that they could have done has been greatly negated by some of the choices they made, although this bottom keep is about to go down. There's Tyrande firing off a owl across the map, and at this point, they still might lose the top fort to the boss, though, so maybe I spoke a little too soon. Here comes Maelstrom, crushing up the middle. Top fort goes down to that boss. Bottom fort probably actually going to go down to this group. And why is there a siege giant? What the? What did that siege giant... Am I tripping? There was a siege giant over here. What was he doing there? Okay. Must have been hooked by Stitches. That's the only thing I can think of. Here comes Maelstrom right up the gut. Bottom fort goes down to the other boss, and at this point it is going to be 6 forts to none, 11 kills to 2, and if we take a look at this damage meter, just way more damage coming out of Maelstrom. Barrel Boys can't keep up with it. There's another lightning breath, but oh, nice choice right there to put the shrink ray on Diablo during his lightning breath, negate 50% of that damage. Unfortunately for them, the Ravenous Spirit is the one coming back to bite them. So they had nobody that could get in there. Even with Pulverize adding that extra slam and interrupt to Ravenous Spirit, it wasn't enough. He was never actually close enough to stun him out of that. Trouble separated from his team. And a 4-1 swing there. Diablo riding back across the map as the magnificent Lord of Hell. Riding in here, trying to get that last hit on the tower, but that will be it. And that is going to be this series, going 2-1 or 2-0, excuse me, to Cloud9 Maelstrom. They will meet Tempo Storm in the finals for this match, and we will see you guys later.